Okay, a very good evening to all brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Exactly 8 p.m. So we will commence our class. So today is 27 January 2022, Thursday class. We will be continuing our sharing from this book, the wonderful Dharma Lotus Flower Sutra. We are at page 179, second paragraph. Just relax body and mind. Then I will off the light and we can have our half an hour of awareness-based meditation as usual. Just remember the four support. Relax into every mind state, your body and mind. Be at ease. Then maintain awareness for as long as you can. Then finally, when you can stabilize the inner awareness, you silence everything and stay with your object of meditation. Or if you're already able to feel your heart area, stay at the heart area. Silence everything and maintain awareness there. Then when that nature stabilizes, it will detect the gateway to your nature. So that may take a while, quite a bit of training with the faith and understanding. Then as your heart area opens up, with the ability of your awareness nature to locate the gateway, then you let that nature develop the movement by itself. That is what we call the fourth support, trust. Trust that nature to do the meditation. Do not interfere with the thought or the memory. Just let things be. Whatever arises, let it arise. Whatever happens, let the awareness nature move by itself. Then you silence everything. Maintain awareness as a witness. Choiceless awareness, witnessing everything that happened. And through that, you will insight into phenomena, develop understanding, develop wisdom. You will come to understand who are you, what are you, how you actually arise as a human being. You will see clearly the movement and functioning of mind, your thought process, your mundane mind. So through all this, you develop self-knowledge, you develop understanding. This is what vipassana or awareness-based meditation is all about. When you meditate with awareness, the awareness nature will let you understand, let you see things as they are. No views, no opinion, no conditioning. You see truth. You see things as they are. You see the reality within the moment. Every moment is so pristine, so beautiful, so meaningful. You're aware. Finish. Aware. Finish. Then all the movement, the transformation, whatever that happened, you will develop understanding. Then you will come to understand clearly that you have another nature within. Then you start to understand clearly who are you, what are you, what is this thinking mind or mundane mind all about. Why the Buddha called it dependent originating, condition arising. Hence it has the universal characteristics of anicca, dukkha, anatta. You will see them clearly. Then there is another nature behind all this arising. Before the stirring of the mind, before the arising of thought, before the manifestation of the aggregates of mind, there is that nature which is just aware, nothing else inside there. That awareness nature is your true mind, your silent mind, your meditative mind. That is the nature that can meditate and understand. So develop that, stabilize that, and use that to meditate. Okay? Uru Viva Kasapa, Gaya Kasapa, Nadi Kasapa. Previously, there was the three great Kasapa, and now we have Uruviva Kasapa, Uruviva name means papaya grove, as it is said that he likes to cultivate in the papaya grove. Gaya's name means city, and Nadi name means river. The three brothers had all been fire worshippers before they took refuge with Buddha. Believing that fire was the most powerful of spiritual forces and the mother of all creation, they worship it with slavish devotion, bowing and making offerings to it. Wasn't that a bit deluded? Master Hsuan mentioned. As meaningless as it may have been, they continued to do so until they met up with Shakyamuni Buddha. Then there is this Shariputra, foremost in wisdom, the chief disciple of Shakyamuni Buddha. Probably everybody remembers who Shariputra was. There is a special story about Shariputra, which makes him hard to forget. Shariputra's mother often used to debate with her younger brother, Maha Kostila, and she lost every time. Strangely enough, when she became conceived of pregnant with Shariputra, she began winning all the debates. Maha Kostila figured that the child in his elder sister's womb was surely a wise one, and was helping his mother argumenting her eloquence and intelligence. I had better get some rhetorical skills, he thought. Otherwise, I will be defeated by my own little nephew, which would truly be graceful. So he went to southern India to study. He was so industrious or hardworking that he studied night and day and didn't take time to cut his hair, shave his beard, or even cut his fingernails. They grew to several inches in length, and everybody calls him the long-nailed Brahma. He didn't deliberately let them grow, as do the long-haired bearded one of today, who have dropped out of school. He was simply too busy to attend to his grooming. A model student, he labored day and night to the exclusion of all other activities. When he had mastered the Indian books of medicine, divination, physiognomy, and astrology, as well as literature and debating skill, he returned and asked his sister, "Where is my nephew?" "He has left home under the Buddha," she replied. Kostila was outraged. "My nephew began preaching when he was 8 years old and has astounded the entire country by out-debating several hundred philosophers. How could such an intelligent child live the home life under a mere shamana? It's pathetic." Arrogant and upset, he went to see the Buddha. "I will have to see what special trick the shamana has. that he managed to fool my brilliant nephew into becoming his disciple. When he met the Buddha, no matter how he tried to counter him, he failed. He has studied for so many years, not even bothering to cut his nails in preparation for his debate with his nephew. Who would have guessed it would all have come to nothing? His nephew had left home under the Buddha, and he himself had no idea what branch of his learning to use against the Buddha. He finally decided to set forth his doctrine. What is your doctrine? The Buddha asked him. I take non-accepting as my doctrine. Kostila replied. No matter what you say, I won't accept it, because I take non-accepting as my principle. Let's see what you can do with that. Speak up. Fine, said the Buddha. You take non-accepting as your doctrine, but let me ask you, do you or do you not accept your views of non-accepting? What a question! If he answered that he accepts his view in accepting it, he would be contradicting his own views of non-accepting. On the other hand, if he said that he did not accept his own view, he wouldn't have any doctrine at all. And how could he take non-accepting as his doctrine? If he accepts it, he would contradict himself. If he refuses it, he won't have a doctrine at all. He didn't have a leg to stand on. He was like a rootless tree. To make matters worse, before he began, he had made a pact with the Buddha, saying, if I win the debate, then my nephew comes home with me. If I lose, I will cut off my head and give it to you. Now scared to lose his head, he had no recourse but to run. When he had run about 5 miles, he stopped and thought, I am a man after all. How can I go back on my own words? I agreed to cut off my head. If I lost, how can I run like a coward? He decided to return, cut off his head, and consider the matter closed. When he arrived, he asked the Buddha for a knife, and the Buddha said, what do you want it for? I agreed to cut off my head if I lost the debate, said Kostila. And so now I owe you my head, isn't that correct? There is no such Dharma within my Buddha Dharma, said the Buddha. You lost, so let's just forget it. What's the use of cutting off your head? The Buddha then spoke the Dhamma to him, and he obtained the purification of the Dhamma eye. When his Dhamma eye opened, he realized the marvelous, unfathomable profundity of the Buddha Dhamma. I spent all that time learning non-Buddhist teaching. They are not even 10,000 parts as good as the Buddha Dhamma, he said, and he left home under the Buddha. So not only did he not regain his nephew, he joined the Buddha Sangha himself. Shariputta's name is Sanskrit. It means egret son, Bodhi son, and Pole son. Sari means egret because his mother's eyes were as beautiful as an egret. Putra means son. Shariputta means pole son because his mother's eyes were like poles. Another explanation for Shariputta's name is Bodhisan because he was born from his mother's body. Shariputta was the foremost of the hero disciple, sound hearer in wisdom. He wasn't exactly number 2 when it came to spiritual power either. His spiritual power was also great. There was once Maha Kostila decided to compare his spiritual power with Shariputta's. Shakyamuni Buddha had gone elsewhere to speak the Dhamma. When he did this, his disciple also went along to hear the Dharma too, because they didn't have any tape recorders in those days. And if they missed a lecture, they couldn't make it up. This time, Sariputta had entered Samadhi. Moggallana came to him, but he wouldn't come out of the Samadhi. All right, said Moggallana, I will use my spiritual power to snap you out of it. And he applied every ounce of spiritual power he had to get Sariputta to come out of Samadhi, but he couldn't budge, even so much as the corner of Sariputta's throat. How great would you say Sariputta's spiritual power was? Maha Moggallana was generally realized as foremost in spiritual power, but he lost to Sariputta. And this proved that Sariputta's spiritual power was even greater than his. Then we move on to great Moggallana, means the next chief disciple of the Buddha. Maha Moggallana's name is Sanskrit and means turnip root or clanks of beans, cadets. This is because his ancestors cultivated an Indian ascetic practice of eating only foods that grow wild in the forest and never eat food that have been planted or harvested. His personal name is Kolita or Jujube tree because his parents prayed to a local tree spirit in seeking to have a son, just as Maha Kasyapa's parents had done. In this case, Moggallana's parents consulted the spirit of the Kolita tree and named his son Kolita in honor of the spirit. Moggallana's mother may have consulted spirit, but she didn't believe in the Buddha, the Dharma, or the Sangha. She slandered the Triple Gem and spoke ill of it. Because of this heavy karmic offense, at death she fell into Avijji hell. When Moggallana attained the fruit of arahantship and gained the 5 eyes and the 6 spiritual penetration, he took a look at the entire world and finally located his mother in hell. Seeing her suffering and starving, he took her a bowl of food. Her greedy nature had accomplished her from the human rhyme to the rhyme of hungry ghosts. And so she immediately covered the bowl with one hand, hid it beneath her sleeve, and ran off to eat it in secret, fearing the other ghosts might grab it away from her. But because of her karmic obstacle was so heavy, the delicious food turned into fire in her mouth. Although Moggallana was foremost in spiritual power, he had no mantra or method to free his mother. Completely at a loss, he ran to ask the Buddha for advice. The talent this disciple had developed were useless in this situation. He returned to Jeta Grove and asked Sakyamuni Buddha to be compassionate and save his mother. Sakyamuni Buddha said, your mother's karmic offense was created through slandering the Triple Gem. You alone do not have the power to save her. If you want to help her, you should set up a Ulambana Offering. This one is the historical reason why people nowadays celebrate this Ulambana Offering. An offering for liberating those hanging upside down on the 15th day of the 7th lunar month, which is the day of the Buddha's rejoicing as well as the last day of the Sangha's annual rains retreat. On that day, offering should be made to the Sangha of the 10th direction, making sure you do not taste the food until it has been offered to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. If you make offering to the Triple Gem on that day, your mother will leave suffering and attain happiness. Moggallana set out the Ulambana festival according to the Buddha's instruction. Ever since then, every year on that day, The ceremony is observed in all monastery and temple to save parents and relatives from this life and from 7 life paths. You may say, but my parent had died. Haven't died. You can save your parent from 7 life paths, and your present parent will also gain an increase in blessing and long life. Maha Moggallana's spiritual power was extraordinarily great. Once, when Sakyamuni was on his way to the Tawatinsa heaven to speak the Dhamma, he passed by Mount Sumeru. On the way, he met a poisonous dragon that was jealous of the Buddha. Does a Shramana like you really think you can speak the Dhamma in the heavens? It said, I won't permit it. And it spit out poisonous sand to try to kill the Buddha. But Moggallana used his spiritual penetration and turned the poisonous sand into soft, harmless cotton. The dragon then manifests a huge body that wound around Mount Sumeru 3 times. Now Mount Sumeru is very large. Our 4 continents, in fact, are on its 4 sides. Moggallana also manifests a huge body larger than the dragon's, which coiled itself around Mount Sumeru 9 times. But the dragon still would not admit defeat. Moggallana then transformed himself into a tiny bug. He bore his way through the dragon's intestine and beat them until the dragon was in so much pain that it finally surrendered and took refuge with the Buddha. And so Moggallana's spiritual penetration was extremely great. Maha Moggallana is Earth-stalked Bodhisattva. Kistigaba Bodhisattva. He couldn't bear to see his mother suffering in the hell. He also couldn't bear to see anyone else mother suffering. He was Earth-stalked Bodhisattva who appeared as Maha Moggallana in order to rescue beings from the hells. I also didn't know this, the first time I read about it. So Maha Moggallana, foremost in psychic, was a great Bodhisattva. He was in fact a stalked Bodhisattva, but when Sakyamuni became the Sammasambuddha, because of karmic affinity, he was born as the chief disciple of Sakyamuni, foremost in spiritual power. And because his mother slandered the triple gem, that's why he had this determination to go down to hell to save the mother and at the same time save all beings. That's why the vow that he took was very heavy. Unless the hell is empty of all suffering beings, he vowed not to attain the perfect enlightenment to be Sammasambuddha. Means he chose his own vow to obstruct his realization of Sammasambuddhahood so that he can stay there to continuously liberate the hell beings. In fact, if you look back at the Jataka story, a lot of these great beings, sometimes they came and allowed themselves to be the child of certain type of mother, is because they want to help them, save them, because of previous affinity. So not only Maha Moggallana's mother was such. In fact, Sariputta's mother also got a problem. She liked to eat this, we call it a fish fry or whatever. Every time you eat, you kill a lot of lives. So because of that, the mother also has similar karmic thing. So later on, As you study more and more the Jataka story, you will see all the different disciples. They come in very different manner and way. Yeah? Some because of love and compassion to save beings that has affinity with them, no matter how heavy their coming offense is. They feel that if they become their child, they can do something. For my nature, I was slightly different. I chose being to be my parent because of affinity and condition. And most of these beings who has the affinity and condition, they have good nature. Otherwise, they cannot meet me, my nature. So this, everyone is different. Okay, we go to the third one. Maha Kayayana. Maha here means great. Kayayana means literary elegance. Because this Venerable One spoke and wrote with great elegance and refinement. His name is also interpreted as tassels on a fan, because his father died shortly after he was born, and his mother wanted to remarry. But the child, Kayayana, tied her up by a tassel on a fan, which prevented her from doing so. Kayayana's name is also interpreted as 9 shoulders, because his shoulders were well formed and good looking, and as victorious thinker, because he could outthink everyone else. Kayayana, a skilled exponent of the Dharma, was foremost among the Buddha's disciples in debate. No matter what point anyone tried to make, he could come up with a host of reason and argument to counter it. Once he met a non-Buddhist who held to the view of annihilation. That is, he did not believe in rebirth, but believed that after death there is nothing at all. He confronted Kayayana with his position, saying, Buddhists believe that after death there is rebirth. I do not hold to that doctrine, and I can prove that it is false. If there is rebirth and beings are destined to suffer in future incarnation, then why has not even one of them ever returned to tell of his torment? This proves that there is no rebirth. When people die, it's all over, like a lamp that has been blown out. Kayana said, suppose a criminal were arrested, trial and given a jail sentence. Will he be free to return home? If you are saying that people after death are like criminals in jail, that may be the case for those in the hell, said the annihilationist. But what about those born in the heaven? Not one have ever returned to talk about it. Beings in the hell may have no freedom, but certainly heavenly beings should be free to come back and tell us or give us a brief report. Kayana said, that's a very reasonable question. However, people born in heaven are like beings who have climbed out of the toilet and been washed clean. They wouldn't be likely to want to jump back into the toilet, would they? The annihilationists had nothing to say. Besides, Kayayana continued, one day and one night for example, in the Tusita Tawatimsa, the heavens of 33 gods. Tawatimsa heaven is equal to 100 years on the human rhyme. Born there, it would take several days to get settled. By the time they thought to return, several hundred years would have passed in the human rhyme. You have long been dead, and your bones turned to dust. How would you know they had returned? The analyst was speechless. Each of the Buddha's 10 disciples possessed a quality whereby he excelled the others. Maha Kostila, the foremost in debate, was articulate, eloquent, and unbeatable. Then the next one is Anuruddha, foremost in divine eye. The Venerable Anuruddha's name means never poor because in limitless aeons past, he made an offering to a Pacheka Buddha. At the time he made the offering, he did not know the Deacon was a Pacheka Buddha. The Pacheka Buddha who lived in the mountain had vowed to come down and beg only once every 7 days, at only 7 houses. If he obtained no food, he would simply return and go hungry for another week. On this particular round, having obtained no food, he was returning, carrying his empty bowl, anticipating another week of hunger. Anuruddha knew this and was pained at heart. Times were hard and famine was rampant. Family had trouble supporting themselves and had nothing left over to give to those who had left home. Anuruddha, a poor farmer who scraped his living out of the soil, ate the very coarsest, cheapest kind of unhusked rice, which he carried to the field with him each day. When he saw the bhikkhu, he said, that a cultivator such as yourself should have to undergo starvation is too pitiful. Wouldn't you accept my offering of coarse rice? If it's not unacceptable, you may have it. If you wish to give it, I will accept it, said the Pacheka Buddha. But what will you eat? I can skip lunch today, said Anuruddha. It doesn't matter. When the Pacheka Buddha had finished eating, he revealed the spiritual power by manifesting the 18 miraculous changes, which include things like emitting water from the upper part of the body and fire from the lower part, and emitting water from the lower part of one's body and fire from the upper part, and ascending into space, things which Arahats, Pacheka Buddha can do, but which ordinary people find most unusual. After that, he said, I accepted your offering, and from now on, in every life, you will never again be poor. Then he left. Anuruddha continued to work in the field when a rabbit came hopping along. Strangely enough, it jumped and frisked around and around Anuruddha as tamely as a horse, dog, and cat. Don't bother me, Anuruddha finally said. I'm working and I don't have time to play with you. Then the rabbit jumped up onto Anuruddha's back. No matter how hard Anuruddha tried to brush it off, he won't budge. It was as if he had grown roots right into Anuruddha's shoulder. Anuruddha continued working, but he was getting worried. What's going to become of this rabbit on my back? He wondered. As poor as he was, he still had a wife. When he returned home that evening, he asked the wife to knock the rabbit off his back. As she did so, the rabbit died and turned into gold. Anuruddha broke off his front leg and exchanged it for a large sum of cash. To his surprise, the front leg grew back again. The same thing happened whenever he broke off one of the back legs. He had struck it rich. No one knew how much he was worth because he could always break off a part of the golden rabbit. Not only was he a rich man in that life, but throughout 91 aeons, he remained consistently wealthy and honored, earning his name of never poor. When he made the offering, he did not know the bhikkhu was a Pacheka Buddha, who would, after accepting the offering, transfer marriage to him. This is how Anuruddha received the retribution of never being poor. Anuruddha, the Buddha's first cousin, liked best to sleep. In fact, every time the Buddha lectured on the Dharma, Anuruddha would doze off with his head resting on the table, snoring like thunder. Once the Buddha scolded him, saying, Hey, how can you sleep like an oyster or a clam? Sleep for 1,000 years, but you will never hear the Buddha's name. After the reprimand, in a burst of vigor, Anuruddha decided never to sleep again, but to truly dedicate himself to study the Buddha Dharma. He went for 7 days and 7 nights without sleep, and as a result, he went blind. Sakyamuni Buddha, knowing that he had gone blind because of his great vigor in studying the Buddha Dharma, took pity on his little cousin and taught him the Vajra bright illumination Samadhi. Thereafter, Anuruddha cultivated according to Dhamma and obtained the penetration of the heavenly eyes. In fact, his heavenly eye, or some call it the divine eye, covered half of his head, enabled him to view the world system of 3,000 great thousand worlds, just as we would regard an amala fruit or an apple in our hand. Thus, Anuruddha was foremost in possessing the divine eye, or here they call it the heavenly eye. Then the next disciple is Kapina. Kapina means house constellation, because when Kapina's parents had reached the age of 40 or 50, they still had no son. Going to a temple, they prayed to one of the 28 constellations. The 28 constellation in Chinese was Jue Kang. Wow, this one very long. Jue Kang Di Fang Xing Wei Ji Duo Nui Nu Xu Wei Xu Bi Kui Lo Wei Mao Bi Zi Kan Jing Gui Lui Xing Zhang Yi Zheng. Kapina's parents prayed to the fourth constellation, Fang, or house, whose corresponding element is the sun, and whose associated animal is the hare. They receive a response and have a son. So that was the disciple Kapina. Then Gavampati, the venerable Gavampati's name is Cow or Cow King, because when he was finished eating, he continued to smack his lips like a cow chewing its cud. When cows are done eating, they go to sleep, but they continue to munch on their cud. Because of this habit, Sakyamuni Buddha was afraid that people would ridicule him and consequently fell. So he sent Gavampati to the heavens to receive offerings from the god. Why did he have this habit? It was a retribution, karmic retribution, for having created evil karma with his mouth by one sentence of slander. Long ago in limitless age past, he met an elderly Pachika Buddha who had lost his teeth and chewed his food very slowly. "Oh, Master," said Gavampati, "you sound like a cow chewing its cud." The Pachika Buddha said, "The retribution you will incur for having slandered me will be extremely grave. Hurry and repent." Gavampati, who was a Shamanara at that time, ridiculed the master, saying, "Repent for what? Why should I beg for forgiveness?" As a result of his slander, for 500 lifetimes, he was reborn as a cow. And he finally became a human again. His cow habit remained, and when he was done eating, he still worked his jaw like a cow. Such was the retribution for slandering a Pachika Buddha. From this, we should take special care in every movement and words not to casually slander or berate others. Watch yourself. Then the next one is Revata. Revata's name means constellation. Yet his parents also prayed to the constellation for their sons' birth. It also meant false unity because he was poor and had no place to live. One night he stayed in an old abandoned shack. That night 2 ghosts came, a big one and a little one. The big one was 20 feet tall and the small one was 2 feet tall. They were as grotesque as could be, with green face, red hair, huge mouths, pointed fangs, and facial features that were all scrunched up together. They came in dragging a corpse and asked him, "Shall we eat this corpse or not?" What they mean was, "If you tell us to eat the corpse, we will eat you. If you tell us not to eat the corpse, we won't have anything to eat, and so we will have to eat you." They were obviously going to eat him no matter what he said. So he didn't say anything. The big ghost ripped off the corpse's leg, and the little ghost ripped off Revata's leg and stuck them on the corpse. Then the ghost ate the corpse's leg, and the little ghost ripped off Revata's arm and stuck them in the corpse. The big ghost ate the entire corpse, and the little ghost replaced its part one by one with parts of Revata's body. Revata panicked. "My body has been used to repair the corpse, and so now I don't have a body." The next day he ran frantically through town, asking everyone he met, "Did I have a body? Please tell me." "What?" they said. They had no idea what he meant and supposed that he was insane. Then he met some high master, Shamana. He asked, "Do I have a body?" Among the high master was a certified Arahant who knew that Revata has the potential to live the home life. "Your body is fundamentally false," he said. "If you cultivate and certify to the fruition of sagehood and obtain the bright light of your own nature, that is true. What difference then would it make whether or not you have a body?" "If that is the case," said Revata, "then I shall leave the home life and follow you." After he left home, he became enlightened. Although he had been eaten by ghosts, he saw that his body was basically false. Therefore, he took the name False Unity, Revata. Okay, we try to finish one more. Pilan Davasa. The Venerables name means leftover habits, refer to habits of many ages and many lifetimes which he had gotten rid of. Once he wished to cross the river because he had certified the fruit of Arahantship and had spiritual penetration. He could demand that the river spirit stop the current so he could walk across. To the river spirit, who was female, he said, "Little slaves, stop the current." Because he was an Arahant, the river spirit had to comply, although she did not say anything. She was extremely displeased. This happened repeatedly until finally the river spirit complained to the Buddha. "Your disciple, Pilindavasa," she said, "hasn't the least bit of respect for me. He came to a river and said, 'Little slave, stop the current.' He's entirely too rude." The Buddha said, "When he returned, I will have him apologize to you." When Pilindavasa arrived, the Buddha said, "When you were crossing the Ganges, why did you say, 'Little slave, stop the current'? You really shouldn't have done that." Now you had better hurry up and apologize to her. Belindavasa immediately went to the river spirit with his palm joined and laughingly said, "Little slave, don't take offense. I have been instructed to apologize for having called you little slave." But in apologizing, he also addressed her that way. Nevertheless, to say she was furious. See that she was. He stand right here in front of the Buddha and call me little slave again. You didn't know this, said the Buddha. But 500 lifetime ago, you were Bilindava's servant, and at that time you called him little slave when he gave you orders. Although you are now a river spirit, his habit has not changed. And because of your previous master-servant relationship, he still calls you little slave. Hearing the Buddha's word, the river spirit knew there was nothing she could do because of such ingrained habits from the past. He was called leftover habits, Bilindavasa. Okay, we will stop here, page 194. Vakula was the next disciple. The Venerable One's name means good, bearing. In the past, throughout limitless Kappa, he exclusively cultivated the precepts against killing. His cultivation of that precept was not like that of us ordinary people at all. His mind did not even give rise to the thought of killing. Not only did he not kill outwardly, inwardly, he was spotlessly clean, in that he never killed a single living being or single living creature. Because of this, he received 5 kinds of rewards for non-dying. When he was born, he was able to speak. He smiled and laughed and said, "Mama and Papa," and was very playful. His mother thought, "What on earth? I have never heard of a child who could speak and joke at birth. He must be a monster." Since she was rather cruel and not compassionate, she put him in a frying pan and tried to fry him. But he wouldn't fry. It was as if nothing were happening. The pan was red hot, but Vakula was just as happy. "All right," she said, "you may be fireproof, but you're certainly not waterproof." And she tossed him into a pot of rapidly boiling water, but he still didn't die. Then she tried to drown him by holding him underwater, but he couldn't be drowned. So, do you think this is strange or not? She left him in the ocean, and he was grabbed down by a fish, and he went right into the fish stomach, escaping the fish teeth. Just then, strangely enough, the fish was caught in a fisherman's net, and the fisherman cut the fish open with a knife. Vakula was not harmed by the knife either, and jumped right out of the fish belly. Thus, he received the 5 kinds of rewards of non-dying. The fire didn't burn him, water did not boil him, the ocean didn't drown him, the fish didn't chop him to death, and the fisherman's knife didn't cut him. He received these 5 as a response from his observance of the precept against killing, and among the Buddha's disciples, he was the foremost in longevity. So you look at all these disciples with all the weird coming behind, you will start to understand how come even great disciple of Sakyamuni Buddha at the top 10 can also have this type of coming. In fact, this is very common. Even according to Theravada Jataka story, Mahamangalana also in one of the life, he actually murdered or killed his own parent That's why, because of that retribution, karmic retribution, when he was an arahant in that life, despite his psychic ability, foremost in psychic, he couldn't escape the terrible death. He was horrible, murdered, and I think they smashed him up. He escaped for 6 occasions because his psychic ability helped him. Then he checked, he realized that coming. That's why on the 7th time, he didn't do anything, he just let it happen. Then they thought he died. But because his ability, the psychic and all those things, he was able to gather his badly smashed and broken physical body and use his psychic to actually appear before the Buddha, Sakyamuni, and told him, I have to leave you. That's how he died. So all this shows, karmic, you cannot play a fool. We never know what type of karmic we committed before we have the Dhamma. So all this is like something that we as cultivator can learn. We cannot take things for granted. That's why karma is very important. We have to take care of karma. It's very dangerous to commit any karmic negativity. That's why the advice of the Buddha is Sabba papasa akaranam. Sabba is all, papasa is evil. All evil you have to avoid. Not only avoid evil. So this is something we can develop from this type of sharing. The next one is Maha Kostila. The Venerable Kostila name means big knee. Yes, big knee were a family trait. The Venerable One was Sariputta's maternal uncle. As previously related, he made a bet with the Buddha that if he lost in debate, he would cut off his head. He was a gifted and eloquent debater. He was one of Buddha's constant followers and the foremost disciple noted for eloquence. Then there is Nanda. There are 3 disciples with the name of Nanda. Nanda, we have Nanda, Ananda, and Sundarananda. Nanda is known as Nanda of the cow herd because he watched cows when he was a lad. Nanda's name means wholesome bliss. Sundarananda was named after his wife Sundari. Sundari means good and loving. Whom did she love? Nanda, Sundananda. Her name also means attractive because she was absolutely stunning. It could be said that she was the most beautiful woman in all of India. Sundananda was so beguiled by her beauty that he never left her side. It was as if they were magnetized or glued together, walking, standing, sitting, and reclining. They were inseparable couple. Sakyamuni Buddha wanted him to leave home. Sundarananda was the Buddha's younger brother. When the Buddha saw that Sundarananda's affinity and his level of planting causes were mature enough that he could leave home, he also knew that Sundarananda couldn't give up his wife to do it. Thus the Buddha decided to apply an expedient measure. One day when Sundarananda and his wife were eating lunch, the Buddha went to the palace to beg for alms. When Sundarananda saw his elder brother, he wanted to offer him some food, but the Buddha said, "Take it to the Jeta Grove." "How can I do that?" said Sundarananda. "How can I leave my wife home alone?" He didn't dare go against his brother's order. So he asked his wife. The Buddha said, "I should take the food to the Jeta Grove. Is it all right if I go?" "Yes, on one condition," she said. I'm going to spit on the floor. You must return before the spit is dry. Otherwise, you needn't bother coming in the door because I won't let you in. All right, said Sundarananda, thinking he would easily make it back in time. But when he arrived, the Buddha wouldn't let him go. He ordered him to shave his head and leave home. Sundarananda spent all day trying to figure out a way to sneak back home to see his wife, where he simply couldn't let her go. One day, all of the bhikkhu went out to beg, and Sakyamuni Buddha told Sundarananda, stay here today and watch the dog. You are not going anywhere today, sweeping the floor and cleaning the place up. We are going out to beg. Actually, should not be beg, for arms round. And we will bring back some food for you. Sundarananda was ecstatic. Finally, a chance to escape, he thought. He planned to sweep the floor, wash the window, and run. Strangely enough, as soon as he got one end of the hall sweep, dirt would collect on the other side. He swept all morning until he was perspiring with exhaustion, but he still couldn't get the floor clean. As soon as he closed one window, another one would blow open, and the sweeping would fly around the room. Then when he shut that window, yet another one would fly open. He was getting more and more frustrated the later he got. The morning was slipping away. The Buddha would return soon, and he would have missed his chance. Finally, in desperation, he ran. He knew if he met the Buddha, he would have to return to Jeta Grove. He also knew that the Buddha always traveled by the main road, and so he took a side road. And whom do you think he ran into? The Buddha. He was returning from his alms round. Sundarananda jumped behind a big tree, and as he backed around the tree, the Buddha followed him. He would reverse his direction, and the Buddha would do as well. Finally, they met face to face, and the Buddha said, what are you doing? I waited for you till I couldn't wait anymore, said Sundarananda. I decided to come and escort you back to Jeta Grove. Good, said the Buddha. Let's go back. Since he had no choice, he returned with the Buddha, and after he ate the lunch, the Buddha asked him, would you like to go out sightseeing with me today? I will take you out to play. Sundarananda thought, I don't have the heart to go play. I'm only concerned with running home. I really didn't have that spirit or mood. But if the Buddha wants me to go, I can't refuse. And he forced himself. They went into a mountain where there was a lot of monkeys, and the Buddha asked him, tell me, which is more beautiful, Sundari or this monkey? Why, of course, my wife is more beautiful. How can you compare with this ugly monkey? What an insult. The Buddha said, you are truly intelligent. You can tell the good from the bad. Now let's return. By now Sundarananda was obsessed with thought of his wife. Several days passed, and no opportunity to run away presented itself. The Buddha said to him, you seem so depressed every day. I couldn't imagine what's on your mind. Let me take you to the heaven for a look around. I wonder what the heaven was like, thought Sundarananda. They ascended to the heaven, and they saw a lovely heavenly palace filled with exquisite heavenly maidens. The Buddha said, what do you think? What do you say is more beautiful, the maiden or Sundari? The heavenly maiden said, Sundarananda, compared to these goddesses, Sundari looked like a monkey. There's no comparison. As they went on their way, Sundarananda lagged behind and stole a word with one of them. Who is your master? He asked. Our master is the Buddha's little brother, Sundarananda. He has left home under the Buddha. and cultivate the way. Next life he will be reborn in heaven, and we are to be his attendant. Delighted at the prospect, Sundarananda resolved to cultivate, forgetting all about Sundari and thinking only of goddesses. He cultivated to be reborn in the heaven, and when he had cultivated for a long time, the Buddha, seeing that he was no longer thinking of Sundari, but only the maidens, thought, I think I will show you something unusual. Sundarananda said, you have been to the heavens, but you have never seen the hell. Would you like to accompany me there? Since the Buddha thought that the hell was most unpleasant, Sundarananda wondered at what would be the use of going there, but agreed to go and take a look. He followed the Buddha there. They saw the hell of the mountains of knives and hell of salt trees and hell of boiling oil and the hell of fire soup, all the hells. In one of the hell, he saw a pot of oil that was barely simmering. Two ghosts who were supposedly tending it were nodding off, and the fire was on the verge of going out. One of the ghosts, in fact, was even lying down, sound asleep. Two truly lazy ghosts, neglecting the pot for their nap. Sundarananda asked, hey, old friend, who's your boss? How can you always get away with sleeping on the job? The ghost yawned and rubbed his eye. What's that you say? He replied. I say, I want to know. Why are you loafing on the job? Loafing on the job, Sundarananda said. Pots of oil have to boil, you know. What do you know? Asked the ghost. The person destined to undergo punishment in this pot isn't due here for a long time. What do you mean? Says Sundarananda. The Buddha's little brother, Sundarananda, has already left home under the Buddha. He cultivated the blessing of the heaven, and in the future, he will be reborn there. When he has used up his heavenly bliss or blessing, the five signs of decay will manifest. He will then fall into the hell to be boiled in this very pot of oil. Because he did not cultivate the way properly, he still got several hundred years. However, so why should we busy ourselves boiling the oil now? Our jobs are quite soft. We can sleep all day if we like. When he heard this, Sundarananda's entire body broke out in a cold sweat. That pot intended for me, he moaned. What am I going to do? The Buddha took Sundarananda back to the Jeta Grove and spoke to him. Of the Dhamma door that born in the heavens is bound up with suffering, emptiness, impermanent, and the lack of self. He cultivated the Buddha Dhamma and certified the fruit of arahantship. Sundarananda was hopelessly in love with his wife, and yet he fell out of love as soon as he saw a woman more beautiful than her. Then because he saw the suffering in the hell, he decided truly to cultivate the way, something he never would have done otherwise. The name Nanda also means bliss, but this Nanda is different from the one discussed previously. He took his name from his wife Sundari, because he was Sundari's Nanda. Okay, we stop here. Huh? Okay, we will now open up for meditation reporting. You're supposed to share. Yeah.
对，Radu 要 share 我最近cultivations and 我想要你的guidance 跟 advice 有一天早上我在 meditate 的时候，哇，那个早上的那个 mind 哦，我一坐下去的时候，它哇很 chattering 啊，哇，一直在很 heavy， 一直在 chattering， 然后我就只是 aware。At the same time, like 我也很像看到 like 那个满地麦很想要做一些 很像想要 react 这样子，但又不懂要怎样做哦。那我只是 aware， 哇，那个 mind 一直不断的去，at the end 哦，就有一个 at the end 就有一个 sentence 就讲 accept the reality， 就整个就停下来，这个就是那个早上的 meditation 的一个 experience，过后few days later 就回到了office 哦，今天早上就就 suddenly 有一个顾客打电话来in fact 他 1 month ago 我已经 advise 他because of 他的 director 的 matter 我已经 advise 他了 ，but 他那一天 early in the morning 又打来电话，他一直跟我一直跟我讲他的 problems， 那个 director 的 problems，but that one is 不是我可以 handle 的，因为我已经 advise 他了。but 他一直 keep on 哇，一直在电话里面一直 non-stop 讲他的 problems， 一直跟我讲，一直 non-stop。我的那个里面就有那个不爽的那个 sensation 就 arise， 我就静静一直听他讲， then 他讲了很久了以后，然后他就 stop 掉了，就 end 掉那个 conversation， 这个不爽的那个 sensation 就 last for 3 hours until
这么久
对，所以我就一直在 observe， 一直去 observe， 哇，他就 until the lunch hour。Then after that, few days later, evening times, 又 another customer 又来 call 我。Then customer 就他是because of 我们的 billing 的 presentation， 我们有我们的 presentation 我们有改过。Then this customer 他就拿以前的 billing 来做comparison， 他讲为什么他发现到那个 fees increase 了吧？我跟他讲 no， 是因为我们的 disbursement 跟那个 fees 我们的 adjustment， 我们的 total 还是一样。But 这个 customer 就一直 arguing， 一直很不爽，一直 arguing， 又在一直不断的 arguing， 然后我就很 patient 的一直跟他 explain。Then after 讲完了以后 then 就 end 了 conversation。过后 about 5 to 10 minutes 他又再打电话回来，我可以 feel 到他的不爽，他就打来又在 complain 他讲你可以改回那个 invoice 吗？就一直不断的哇，然后我一直很 patient 的跟他explain， but 他又一直的 then end up 我就问他你要我怎样做，他讲 can you write me an email，then 我们就 end 了那个 conversation。After 这个 conversation end 了，我在 observe， 我发现到 during 这整个的 conversation， 我的 mind 是很 peace 的，跟天前那个电话，哇，那个angry 是 totally like 两个不一样的。我就讲，为什么这么样大的那个 difference？我就去 recall， 我就去 recall 这两个 incidents， 我就去看有什么的Dharma 我可以有 understanding 在里面。然后我在 recall 的时候，我突然间我了解这是一个 condition 这是一个 condition 的一个这个 matter 是一个 conditions 来的。然后我就想从这里面我也看到的就是trace 那个 origination factor， 就是来我听到了他们的 moment， 两个 incident 都是听到，一个听了以后会 react 不爽，一个听了以后还是 peaceful。我想这两个都是一个 condition 的那个在满丁的 condition 里面，爽跟不爽一个就是我们的 daily 的 go through something 就是很像来我们会 go through 来每一天的 daily up and down， 就是有这一些就是一个 conditions 来的。
你的 question 是什么？你要了解什么？
不是，我想知道就是我的 understanding 是就是讲这两个是一个 conditions 的 arising 来的。 then 我想maybe 我想要知道Virgil 的
Yeah,
里
advice.
面还有没有比较 further 的
Without the advice and all those things. Okay, 这一次你要听好 because this one is very important. 你第一个 actually previously you gone through before, like all of a sudden that mind become like very chattering. You use the word very chattering, means it is not in the meditative state. So what happened is, for your case, sometimes it could be a type of test to test you. But if you continue not to have the understanding, the stability of understanding, then this test will continue to surface once a while. That's why you will go through this. Then your old habitual way, which you always want to analyze and always want to reason and get an answer out of it, that one is still there behind, which you didn't notice. So what you should do is, whenever you want to meditate or relax and maintain awareness, then this Monday mind or mind start to chatter or restless or whatever, don't worry, just let it be. Let it be. Because the more you want to improve on it or change it to otherwise, means that craving, the habitual way of doing things, you want to develop understanding. In the name of developing understanding, there is reasoning, analyzing. So don't do anything. Like I said, just let it be. That's why finally you say from inside the answer come. You use another word, I think, accept the reality. But let things be means what? Condition like that, things be like that. So this understanding has to stabilize. No matter what happened, the reality is, means truth is, within that moment, there are causes and conditions behind. So this so-called chattering mind or restless mind or the lack of peace or what is not the issue. The issue is the understanding. Condition like that, things will be like that. Always remember that. Let things be. Then be with it. Acceptance, silence. Let it return to its original state before the stirring. Just relax, maintain awareness, silent. It will slow down, it will silent, it will still. You have to break free from this. You have to develop stability of understanding so that no matter what happened, you are not affected. That is the wisdom that you need, the stability of it. Just let things be. Always remember what I say, don't do anything. Don't try to know, just silent. Maintain awareness. Then use the awareness to understand that whatever happened, there are causes and conditions behind. And you don't stir, don't react, or don't do anything, your natural state of mind will return. All this movement or stirring or chattering or what, they are dependent originating. They are not your true mind. They are the mundane mind that has its causes and conditions behind to stir and to arise. That's why this stability is very important. Then after you clear this stability, you will pass. After you pass, you realize it will not happen again. But sometimes it will come and test you once a while again. Then if you have the understanding very stable, then you will clear again. Normally, one time or maximum 2 times. Once you clear, you will not come back. Then you know what this thing is. There is nothing to do with the mundane mind. Means you will not go and think and reason and do anything. Just let it be. So that is the first advice for you to develop the ability. This one has been there for quite a while. So this one is hopefully is the final round of understanding. That's why just now I say you have to listen carefully again, and this time completely free. Then the second part is when it comes to cultivating the Noble Eightfold Path, the development of the skillful Noble Eightfold Path factor, your wisdom has to be very stable. Otherwise, it's not easy, because there are certain what we call habitual tendency that are very strong in the individual, which you find it very difficult to root out. Especially your second sharing about that client who called you and keep on complaining about the other director, because like you say, you already advised him, and that problem that he brought out is beyond you. It's not something you can do, because like we call it the internal affair of that company, the director and him. And honestly, your duty and your scope of your firm is to advise him on certain, I believe in this case is tax matter and whatever company matter. So as long as you have that clear understanding of your scope, no need to worry. So next time when they call you, don't have to like try to argue or explain or keep on telling them, I already advised you, this is beyond me. Client doesn't like to listen to this type of thing. They like you to have more understanding. That's why Noble Eightfold Path is about right view, leading to right thought, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Of course, the 4 right effort and the right mindfulness, leading to samadhi. So right view means very likely in the past there were karmic conditioning, because you have been like that before. You created a lot of this type of situation to maybe your tax consultant or whatever. So now you become the victim. You have clients that actually throw this type of problem back to you and this type of questioning back to you. And you find it not easy to endure. Like you said, even after the client has decided to like stop the conversation and maybe for the time being like agree not to pursue further, but the emotion, the anger, like you say, remain for 3 hours. That is a bit too long for cultivator. Why should that sankhara stay so long? If you have understood sankhara anicca, sankhara dukkha, and dhamma anatta, all this will not stay for so long. Well, these are all dhammas. Dhamma born of delusion. So when you understand this, you have to accept the reality that is karmic. So later on, do what you have to do. Need to ask for forgiveness, ask for forgiveness, and vow not to repeat all this. Then be more polite, more understanding in your approach, where they are clients. So clients like to listen to nice words. So what you can do is you straight away tell them, oh, okay. You say, I understand what you are going through. No problem. So I will try and see what I can do. Maybe I will discuss with my boss and I come back to you. But you must remember, you tell him, then you bring up your point. You first of all, you try to make him feel good first, better first. Then he will not continuously argue with you and try to pressure you to help him solve the problem. Then you say, based on your experience and understanding, there are other kind of cases also quite similar, and some of them are worse than yours. But for us, our advice is more or less the same, like what I advised you previously. But I know that advice is only for our scope. It doesn't help solve your internal problem. So your internal problem is actually something you have to resolve yourself, or you may look for other legal advice or whatever advice to deal with director's problem or company problem. That one, hope you understand, is beyond our scope. Our scope of advice or consultancy doesn't cover that. That is not our expertise. If you say in such a way, that person will tone down. Then he will say, oh, okay, thank you for the advice. Then maybe it can be resolved. Otherwise, you keep on like trying to maintain your position and trying to tell him this is beyond our scope, nothing to do with us. The client doesn't like that approach. So Noble Eightfold Path is about right speech, right action, then right thought, leading to resolving issue and matter amicably. So all this need training, need stability or understanding where the world is the world. Conditioned world has its reality, has its unique, what they call, condition behind. So you have to accept them for what they are, then approach them with the Noble Eightfold Path understanding. That's why this Noble Eightfold Path, a lot of cultivators doesn't understand. You need to have wisdom and understanding to continuously develop understanding, to cultivate it. And that one requires a lot of patience, understanding, wisdom, and skillful development of right speech. That's why to speak in a very gentle, pleasant, and nice manner, so that your client, people whom you have relationship with, doesn't feel annoyed or get unhappy. So all these are what we call part and parcel of cultivation. Then when it comes to your third incident or sharing, that one you feel that you can handle, you are calm, you are peaceful, because maybe you handled this before and you don't have karmic conditioning from the past that can actually make you become victim, like your second case. So because of that, it becomes like smooth sailing and quite easy to handle. So that one is also part of your cultivation, which you have succeeded. That's why that one does not entangle you and does not break you down and cause your emotion to be there and all those things. Then always remember, like what I say, whenever you are not peaceful, not happy, it's the evil roots are there. Use that to check. Then use that to contemplate, to reflect, and tell yourself, in future, when this type of client come, if it has something to do with your karmic past, if it's something like your karmic debt that you have to like repay or go through, so you do what you have to do. Later on, after you understood, contemplate, and reflected, then you need to ask for forgiveness. You ask for forgiveness. That's why the Bodhisattva vow of cultivation, where I share with you all the way to ask for forgiveness from Triple Gem, from all beings, and to cover whatever that is not covered earlier on. So all these are there. You continuously stabilize it. Then after that, you refine upon your approach by perfecting your Noble Eightfold Path practice to help you resolve issue amicably. So this one need consistent reflection, contemplation. Then you have to write down how you can develop the gentle, pleasant, and appropriate speeches, and how you can act in such a way your client feels better and he is more like in a better mood to like agree with you and thank you by highlighting to him after all those kind, pleasant, and gentle approach. Then he feel good. That's why you have to start listen, then don't argue, then let him finish. And after that, oh, I understand your problem. I think you are going through a tough time. That's why your director is giving you a lot of problem. Then you can maybe after that tone him down by saying, yeah, understandable. There are many cases like that too. For our clients, there are some worse than you are. Then they like to listen to all this. Then you said, maybe I will discuss with my boss and see what he can do to help you. Apart from that, you have to develop the understanding and tell him, I hope you understand our position. Our position is like I have advised you. We have already advised you on our scope. That is our scope. But what you are going through is not within our scope. But you can still solve it by getting certain type of advice from the right people. Maybe lawyers or people with experience on company policy or director thing, behavior and all those things. So corporate responsibility and all those things. So your that type of advice will be very useful. Then they will be very helpful. Sometimes they may pretend, oh, I thought your service is inclusive of all this. Then there is the time you can talk to them very nicely. Yeah, too bad it's not covered. Otherwise, I would advise you, but we are limited to all this. So all these are skillful ways or means to resolve issue amicably. Then you learn to see things as they are, accept them for what they are, and understand the world is the world. Reality is. Things is just the way they are, like the Buddha's advice. So all these are the skillful means and understanding that you can develop and help you overcome whatever life problem or situation is. That's why life itself is our greatest teacher. That is the Tao Chang, they call it. The place where you cultivate. So like your what they call mandala, your way place to cultivate. In fact, to go into life, to cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path in the midst of life is not easy. But with the Dhamma, with wisdom and understanding, it can be done. That's why that part, you have to go deeper into it. 要下多一点功夫 means reflect and contemplate and develop more understanding to evolve that understanding. So hopefully with these 3 advice, you go back and listen again. It will help you. It will help you. That you can actually modify all this. Sometimes you can develop better solution because you are more experienced in your own field of your scope of career that you are in. Because I'm an engineering graduate, I am not familiar with texting and all those things, but I do know quite a bit of text matter that I have gone through because personally I also deal with my tax consultant, and I also have to check with them what is your scope, what does it cover, what does it not cover. But I don't have like company problem, directorship problem. I seldom have a situation where I got this type of company that I have to deal with director and other things. No, I can be a shareholder of listed company, but I normally don't deal with all this director. Well, these are board of directors activity and all those things. And in all this, there is a lot of office politics, what we call the corporate level type of politics and all this thing. So they are potential for a lot of misunderstanding, conflict, and argument. And like we know in the society's environment, there is a lot of this going on. That's why a lot of listed company, sometimes they had a lot of issue to argue. Sometimes they cannot see eye to eye. The major shareholder wants to remove certain director. And sometimes minority shareholder want to remove the board of director that is running the company. So, but there are company acts and rules that they have to work within. So they have to meet the advice of all this, what they call the audit firm and all these big 5 companies that can advise them. And sometimes they need lawyers too to deal with all this. They have to put injunction. They have to fight the case, and honestly, it involves a lot of litigation. But for us cultivators, we try to avoid all this, unless you happen to be in one of these situations where you work for people or what, and then it's different. You have to maybe develop the understanding to advise people accordingly. Okay, so hopefully this helps.
就那个刚才你的 explanation， 我在想到应该是它是一个讲讲了，是一个 karmic 来的。
Yeah, karmic behind.
对那个，
所以他会给你来 become the victim。你以前弄人家你不知道吗？现在有一个顾客来这样弄回你，
不是
搞到你很辛苦哦。
Actually 是一个很actually 是一个很 basic 的一个case 来的。它这个 company 它有4个 director。So one of the director 他 admit to the hospital，then 他 suddenly 他的那个 health situation deteriorate 了，他整个 ICU，所以他的 staff call 我，then 我就 advise 他then resign this director to resign this director， 因为以后就会避免很多的那种signing 的 document。But 他就but 他的这个 staff 就讲， 他不可以签名了 ，because the hand cannot move 了。等我就跟他讲 ，maybe 叫他的 husband 带哦，就是讲 ，actually 我有 advise 他了，so but 他一直this stuff 一直讲，哎呀不可以，一直他一直在他的 view 里面所以就是那一天早上，就是他又在 repeating， 一直 repeating， 哇，actually 是一个很 small 的一个 matter，but 那我一听到蹦这么那个里面的，
当然，就好像你刚才讲，你了解到应该是前世因的 karmic 来的 ，otherwise 不会受到你这样够力的。
It lasts for 3 hours。
当然 ，it also come as a test for you because this is something you have to go through。因为很多 cultivator 你thought 他们明白了啊，了解了啊，能够 like overcome 了啊。But suddenly there is a situation where it completely take you off. So all this you have to really reflect, contemplate, and develop better understanding. Then do what you have to do. Like I said, if it's karmic, you need to ask for forgiveness. You ask for forgiveness. Then you vow not to repeat all this. Then after that, you vow to develop better understanding to cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path to resolve it. Like you say, it's a simple problem, but turn out the client make it like very difficult for you. So very likely, or more than 90% is karmic. Otherwise, you won't get entangled.
就这个 case actually 是发生在早上。Usually 我早上我到了 office 我会做religious routine， 等我一 recite 完了那个 Bodhisattva vow 过后这个电话就 immediately 就 ring 了，那就 stir 我了我讲
Yeah, but whatever it is， 你要了解就是the right view。That this form and mind is a very good tool for us to come, to develop the cultivation, to experience the karmic thing, and to fulfill our vows, and to allow us like a very good tool to live life, to experience all of the life, whatever that we need to go through. So all these are very important. So you will not get yourself entangled with life. Within life, it has its own duality, its own reality. So the wisdom part is very important. Like the Buddha said, we choose to accept everything as natural, conditional that things will like that. So once you have the understanding, you will not try to reason or analyze or justify or try to like be right. So all this is not going to work. These are still within the conditioned world's reality. You will end up in misunderstanding, argument. So you have to resolve it amicably with understanding. 要接受先，接受了就能够 resolve it amicably. Then do what you have to do. Like you say, the right speech has to come in. Accept, listen, then tell him, oh, I understand. Yeah. In this particular case, if it's beyond your scope, you are not supposed to advise on how they can actually get the director who is in such medical condition to resign. Unless you are quite clear about it, then you can advise him. But otherwise, I think it's not easy. It's just like a situation where people are about to die already. You ask them to sign things and all things because they are not with a sound mind to do it. And it's not appropriate or right to actually get the sick person who is so sick to do all this. So there must be provision in the Company Act for director who are in such situation. Like if you want to approve certain type of resolution, you don't need all of them, is it? Then maybe if one of them is or unsound mind or what, based on majority vote, you all can vote for a resolution to maybe ask him to resign, or I don't know, this is also beyond me, I'm not sure. There could be a way, but it must be something that you are sure. But if it's beyond your scope, just tell them it's beyond your scope. This one, I think, auditors and all those things, those who are good at company law and all those things.
就是这一些就这些最近的这一些这样的 arise， that's why 我一直在 repeating 听回你的talk， 我去 build up the understanding。就是但是我每一次在Burden 你在给我的 advice 里面，我又听到了一些就再去要去 stabilize， 真的是
you have to stabilize it. You have to refine upon it, because 那个八正道is a very I should say very elaborate type of cultivation. You have to go through many conditions, many incidents, and listen to a lot of this cultivators' advice. The people who have gone through, they will know how to resolve it. First of all, always remember, don't try to do anything, because even the restless mind or whatever, don't try to do anything like the meditation on let things be, then be with it. Develop the understanding to see how that thing actually return to its original state before the sankhara activity or stirring. So that one, you should stabilize that. Then it will not be an issue. Then the second and the third one, that one easier to handle. That one is cultivation of Noble Eightfold Path, which you already have the understanding, but you haven't perfected it, refine upon it. So that one is no issue. That one you just continuously contemplate, reflect, and maybe refine upon the right thought, right speech, right action, and right livelihood, and the four right effort, and the understanding to resolve all these things amicably, following the Noble Eightfold Path. Noble Eightfold Path is a very detailed type of elaborate type of cultivation, which take time, not so fast. You cannot overnight develop understanding. Yeah, you need to go through many of these tests and real life situation to have enough of this experience and exposure. Then you have to learn from other people too. Sometimes when we see how people solve problems, resolve issue in meeting or what, you can learn from them. Yeah, these are skillful means and their approach. Like even Tzu-chi, they use the Jing Si Yi and all those things to actually let people reflect, contemplate, and understand. So these are all the tools that you can use. Okay, so
Sadhu Bharatil, yeah.
Sadhu 很好。
就是其实我在contemplate 的这些的时候，我发现到哇，里面还有很多的那个 Dharma 很 Dharma 需要再去further 的去 stabilize 那个 understanding。
对，
还有真的要在 daily 里面去 go through 很多的cases。
Always remember, avoid analyzing and reasoning. 没有用的那个like 跟人家 argue or what want to be right 没有用的that one will create more problems. That's why the acceptance is very important of the reality. 一切有为法，如梦幻泡影 no reality on. So resolve problem, understand, move, and resolve issue amicably. Don't try to be right. Don't try to reason. Don't try to push your point. No point. 没有finally you will understand 没有意义的 because this is only the individual's point of view. And if you want to be right or push your point, it will defeat the purpose on. The world is the world. People will not listen to all these things. Yeah, people also have their delusion and their ego. So what you need is nice, pleasant, gentle, and good approach or speeches. Then when you act in a sincere manner that can bring forth the gratitude, the respect, the sincerity, people actually appreciate more. It reflects your understanding, means you are able to understand people, you feel for people. So that one need exposure, need understanding, need wisdom. So all this, you can work on it. Okay, so
Brother， 你刚才的 explanation， 哇，我听了很多的 joys 啊，因为我觉得这三个 study 是
it will help you
对，你的 explanation 也 help 我在，因为这三个是不一样的 condition，
不一样的 condition， 对，
不一样的 Dharma 在里面，
不一样的 Dharma， 对，
去 build up the understanding， 所以
stabilize your wisdom。
谢谢你 Brother。
Okay, no problem. Let us rejoice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, good. So now 10:33, we have to stop already. Yeah? Okay, my wife want me to remind you all, today is the last session before Chinese New Year. We will break until the 15th, is it? Continue on the 17th of February. But in between, we can have the private type of arrangement to meet out for Chinese New Year or what that one is. Not a problem. You all maybe make the arrangement. So before I finish off with the closing puja, I would like to make use of this opportunity to wish everybody Gong Si Fa Chai, and also happy coming Chinese New Year celebration. Hope you all can have a good gathering. And the usual wishes, we wish that everybody, all Kalyanamitas, will have I should say, not only happy, blessed type of New Year. So some, they want prosperity. So wishing you all a happy, prosperous, and blessed New Year. Blessed with good health, good life, and good condition for you all to cultivate the Dhamma, so that the triple gem will be always with you, so that you can develop the ability to perfect yourself, so that your good and noble wishes can be fulfilled. So once again, rejoice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Then wish you all good night and good sleep. And hopefully after this, you all can have a few days to prepare for your new year, to develop the celebration and other things. So remember the Dhamma, apply them into this new year, so that you can be a blessing to all. Okay, with that, we will end. Sadhu.